Am I doing this correct? Am I on the big screen? Okay, because I'm useless at this online stuff. I am still one of these grassroots workers. There you go. I have to, first of all, take my hat off to you, Venessa, for the work that you do and the commitment that you have towards raising awareness for not just young Black boys, but everybody, and this amazing awareness around autism. We've had many conversations, and I've said to you many times that you are the voice, and especially for the Black community, it does require somebody to basically sacrifice themselves in order to raise these issues. You know as well as I do that we have a massive rug in the Black community, and we sweep everything underneath that rug. And it becomes a problem only when our doors knock. And so for me, taking part in this today, it is amazing in the sense that it's able to raise awareness for those people that need the advice and the support. And you know, the fact that it's an international event shows the amount of effort that you've put into bringing these people together to actually come up with a solution. I think it's really, really important. Somebody touched on it earlier. They said so many people are having these Zoom conversations, and I don't tune into them. I don't tune into them because there are no solutions there. But every time I come onto one of these Zooms, and I don't do Zooms very often, there's always solutions. And I think that's important. That's the key thing about, you know, raising awareness around these specific topics such as autism, is that we come up with solutions. We can't just be here talking about what we do in that community. You know, there's some wonderful stories shared earlier. I think they're amazing. I think they are amazing. But we have to understand that unless we continue to raise this awareness around autism, and in particular, because we touched on racism, those autistic young Black boys who are being stopped by the police and harassed, I wouldn't say for no reason, because it's only fair to say that what you said earlier, if the police do not know they're autistic, then how can they challenge them in a different way? So we worked around something where we raised awareness with lanyards. I thought that was an amazing thing to do. And I will get back to that. But what I really want to talk about is this whole lockdown thing. And the reason I was late on here today was because I was listening to the updates around lockdown, because my particular concern is that there are many young people, some of them with autism, some of them without, who are becoming frustrated at being locked away. You know, they've never faced a time like this before in their lives. And for them, it is frustrating. And some of the young people I work for do not abide by the government's rules. They don't care. All they care about is going out and continuing their life. And to be brutally honest, it's very difficult not to blame them. It's very difficult to say, stay in your house when you have nothing to do for up to 6 months. So I can only imagine what it's like for somebody who's challenged with autism. I do know Venessa's case. I do know there are certain issues going on which are quite challenging and which actually limit your voice in a way, because you are dealing with the very same issues in your house. So it's really, really difficult. But I just believe that we have to talk about this openly and actually accept the fact that, first of all, autism does exist, racism does exist, COVID-19 does exist, Black Lives Matter does exist. There is an issue with the police that definitely does exist. How do we unravel this so that somebody who is autistic, or, you know, a family who has autistic children, can understand and teach their children how to be safe in public? And that's my concern. That's where I step in there. I do a lot of work around the county lines. I originally met Venessa around county lines and children with special needs, because I was one of the first people, and I couldn't believe it at the time, who started speaking about how county lines were targeting young Black boys with special needs. And these were boys that were often sourced in pupil referral units, or excluded from school, or just have issues at home. They were deliberately being sourced by grooming organizations. And I raised the issue with this, and I said, well, if this is the case, then we need to make those parents aware that their children are now not only vulnerable because they have autism, but vulnerable because now they are being targeted by groomers. And that's where we began our almost a journey, which it's got to be 2-3 years now, raising awareness around special needs in county lines. I've gone on to start a website called Groom Safe, and this was in response to the amount of grooming cases that I was getting. Every week I was getting 1 or 2 new families contact me about their children being groomed. And a high percentage of those children were special needs. And one of the complaints I always had, and it seems as if it's not stopping, is for some reason, maybe I'm becoming more experienced, but I am now able to see and suggest to that parent whether or not you believe that your child may be autistic. And that's an area that we need to clamp down on, because like I said, this big rug that we keep sweeping things under, we have to pull it back and be realistic about it. County lines is not going to change. You know, the recruiting of young people is going to be on the increase. We've said this for a while. We've said that children coming out of COVID-19 are more susceptible to county lines because they've been locked away for 6 months. You know, they're looking for something exciting to do more often than none. Some of those families have been affected financially, so those young people feel that they need to go out now and make some money. So this is a really, really attractive time for grooming, which is why a lot of the work I'm doing now is about, you know, re-raising that awareness about, you know, if your child is autistic or your child has special needs, or in fact, if your child has behavior needs, is to pay specific attention to who they associate with. Pay particular attention to their online use. The social media is one of the biggest grooming grounds. We keep saying this, nobody monitors it. We allow our children to have carte blanche over the entire internet. And you know, not often enough do we look at what the content that they're looking at. And some of these groomers know this. They use these popular chat rooms or actual apps to attract young people. They show them money. They do it with child sexploitation. They show them body parts. They get them attracted, and then they're groomed. So that's my particular concern in regards to what's going on with the autistic community. I believe that we, as a community, need to bond together more and accept that autism is a part of our society. It's part of who many of us are now. You know, since Venessa has started to raise this issue about autism, there have been many families who have identified autism in their families. And sometimes I know she feels a little bit overwhelmed, as if she's hitting her, you know, banging her head against the wall, but she's having an impact on these families' lives. And I think it's really important to do this. In particular with this whole COVID-19, it doesn't seem to be getting any better. It doesn't seem to be getting any better. The sense of freedom for young people is that, yes, we can go out now, as long as we wear our mask. We can go and have block parties. You know, we can go and throw rocks at the police. It's okay, but it's not, because the government are introducing new laws which are going to impact us even more. And those laws are going to impact children and young people with autistic needs even more than that. So I'm a bit concerned about that. So I'm glad to be in here tonight. You know, my whole stance on the George Floyd situation was that, and this is from speaking to somebody with autism, a young man with autism, is that where his mind went in terms of where the world has gone was almost suicidal. You know, this particular young man couldn't see the point in living if that's what the police do to young black men when they go out into public. And so this, for me, became a real concern about how somebody so young could be afraid to go out into the real world, even, you know, although it be with autism. So there's lots of concerns. There's lots of learning that I'm still doing about the autistic community. I'm getting as much information as I can, and I'm actually using it in the day-to-day work that I do. So, you know, for me to be on this platform here, you know, it's an amazing thing. If you look, I think Venessa said she's going to mention it later. There's 1 or 2 projects that I'm starting which are there to help young, particularly black children with autism. And it's all about life skills, getting them a bit more streetwise and actually helping them to understand the current situation that we're in more, and helping them to move away from the online life and actually go out into the world. And so that's why I'm here. Let me see what else I've written down. The words here in real bold letters here: autistic undiagnosed. And I wrote that for a reason. And the reason I wrote that is because we need to move towards a narrative where we're not afraid of diagnosis. We're not afraid of the impact it will have on our families or the impact it will have on our friends. We have to start thinking about those young people and how they live their lives. I do know Venessa has so many different challenges, and I've learned from listening to her on those challenges. And it is quite right to say that it's really, really difficult to understand what somebody in Venessa's position is actually going through, having more than one child who's got autism, and again, I take my hat off to her. So for me to be in this forum today, it's just a wonderful experience. I'm here to answer any questions. I'm here to support the movement, and I'm genuinely here to learn from you guys about autism.
Thank you, Paul. Just to let you know something, I know some people are going to be at me. A lot of autistic people don't like the word with autism. They prefer autistic person. So I'm just laying it out there because Paul is still trying to understand. Secondly, what people need to understand when it comes to the Black community, I would say we're probably about 20, 30, 40 years behind. Because imagine my son was diagnosed in 2008 and it's 2020. And what I'm experiencing with my daughter who's 14, who was diagnosed in 2017, 2018, I'm still experiencing exactly the same problem. So it shows that if I am within the Black community and I say my daughter is autistic, the response is they don't believe, they think they've misdiagnosed my daughter. I don't tell everybody what I've gone through, but I can tell you what I'm going through. It's traumatic because fighting for my autistic daughters is hard. But one question I want to ask you, Paul, quickly.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you one really quickly before I finish. But for you, in the position that you're in, do you find that you're getting the right support?
No.
No. Do you find that, here on this platform here, I think it's a great time to talk about it. What support do you think will help you? What support do you think you need that will help your current situation?
I'm being honest, and I'm speaking not just for me, it's for every other mother out there, is when we're being judged, when we're being told that we're exaggerating our child's behaviour, when we're asking for help, when we go to social services and we say, we need help. And we're going there just for their help to find that the social services are looking at us and they're judging us. Yeah, so when they start looking at, is it fabricated induced illness? It looks like for some reason they think we're exaggerating our child's behaviour. So imagine, as I said, go back to my daughter. I asked for help from 2011 to be told I was exaggerating. Now I've got my oldest daughter, 19, and I'll say it because I'm not ashamed to say, is that she left at 14, came back at 16, wasn't living with me, came back 6 months pregnant. We didn't know. I delivered my grandson at home. And I keep saying it, I'm still traumatized because the challenges I have with my older daughter, she is undiagnosed. I don't care what anybody says to me, but trying to tell that to a Black community, they're telling me I'm labeling my child, but they don't know. Paul, you've seen what I've gone through. There's a lot of people.
I've seen.
People who have been in my space, I've seen what I've gone through. So I would say people need to start listening to us. I don't think they know what autism is still. That's why when I've been, as I said, doing so many Zooms, was I'm bringing the corporate to the grassroots autistic community together via Zoom, because as I said, Jackie has always been there for me. And I just felt that if I didn't connect with Jackie in 2013, and when I said, Jackie, this is what we've got to do, look how long it's taken us to do this, 7 years. So it shows people don't realize Jackie actually said to me that when she told me that she was autistic and I said, let's do a blog, it took me to do the webinar. And she said, Venessa, because of you, you made me empower myself to speak about autism. And that was only one autistic Black woman that I met around the world. So for me, the question would be, people need to listen. The Black leaders need to listen. Even though we had a good intake of people registering, not everybody registered today. And like I say, we're in COVID, autism, we've got the police, we've got section 60, stop and search. There's so many things happening in our Black community. can't keep on blaming. We've got to look at ourselves.
But I find that in the black communities, there's a lot of generalization. There's a lot of generalizing. This whole thing about the police being racist and, this all erupting. But if we break it down, there is a lot that the community needs to learn to move forward. And that, we keep talking about this. And one of the aspects of that, one of the areas is autism, because we need to start accepting that we have to be accountable for our community and the people in the community. And if that means that we look at autism in a different light, we have to learn to accept and do that. And that's one of the gripes I've got is that you should be getting that support. You should be getting that support. And I'm not only talking about from the professionals, I'm talking about from the community. And that community that you referred to, you've done so much work for them. And I know you've done so much. I know what you've done for them. But there's still that lack of understanding and willingness to support you through your own personal thing. So for me, it's, until the community grasps the fact that, yeah, we do have autistic children. Yes, they may present as if they're behaving badly in public, but that's maybe because we are failing them. That's maybe because we are using this rug to mask the fact that maybe my child needs to be diagnosed with autism. So support around that, more awareness, I think it's amazing. It's amazing. Just one question. As I said, I know Leroy, I know that we talk about why did I bring USA, UK together? Yeah.
Racism is racism. Togetherness, I don't think we've never been together. I think we're fighting a fight amongst our community. Because like I said, there's so many autism community leaders and they're not here. For whatever reason, it doesn't bother me. But right now, there's as I said, Jesse's going to speak. And when we talk about stop and search, Section 60, block parties, all these things that are happening. Yeah. How is it that we can find all our youth out? My question is, the crime rate should have been decreased, but it is increased. Is that true? I don't know. But just going ahead, because I know we've got Max coming on. Yeah. Just a quick one. I don't think everybody knows what county line is. That was my question I wanted to ask you.
So county lines is and I've just literally written it down here because we need to rename it, because county lines has been happening for nearly 15 years and it seems to be the buzzword now. But to break it down into what it is, it's the distribution of drugs. It's the network that distributes drugs across the country. This network is worth almost £2 million a day and currently has over 400 to 500 young people enlisted in the movement of drugs. So it is a real concern. The buzzword itself that the media are using should be changed to drug distribution, because until we change it from being, yes, it happens on county lines, we call it on county lines, but there is a major operation behind it now, increasing the distribution of drugs, which only means that they're going to recruit more and more young people from disadvantaged communities or special needs children to distribute those drugs. So I'm choosing not to call it county lines anymore. I'm going to address it head on and call it the drugs distribution network. And we need to address this because more and more young people are being drawn into this over social media. It's not even a face-to-face thing now. They've been drawn in, they've been shown money on their Snapchat. And they go and meet people, deliver drugs, and then get sucked into the whole debt cycle of owing people money for drugs. And, some of these children owe £20,000 to £30,000 in 3 months. So this is the problem. Some of those young people, special needs, some of those young people are autistic, some of those young people don't know why they're there. So the job that we need to do is to identify the ones that don't know they're there, because until we become accountable and understand that some young people do know why they're there, because they choose to be there, but there's a percentage of young children that are there because they're vulnerable. So my job is to find those children and do what I can to get them back to some form of normality.
Thank you, Paul.